the first Component Studio 2 alpha. If you're not familiar with what Component Studio 2 is, or Component Studio in general, it is basically if you took Excel and combined it with Photoshop, in that you designed exactly one image and the data from the spreadsheet would fill in and automatically design the remaining images for your deck of cards, a set of tiles, a set of chits, that sort of thing. Component Studio 1 can be found at Component.Studio in your web browser. This is Component Studio 2, the next generation of Component Studio, and it is currently in alpha. As a matter of fact, this video marks the first alpha that is publicly available. So welcome to the Developer Designer Diary number 18 for Component Studio 2. This is going to be a brief tutorial about the alpha because there's no documentation out there. It is an alpha after all. There's no help. There's no other videos. So I just want to quickly give you a little taste of how Component Studio 2 works. And then I'd love for you to follow the link in the description to go and try it yourself. And then report back any bugs that you find or missing features, that sort of thing. This will absolutely have bugs and missing features. It is an alpha after all. For example, there's no way to import or export a CSV currently. There are also none of the fancy exporters of like exporting to the GameCrafter or exporting to Tabletop Simulator. None of those fancy exporters exist right now. All you can do is download the images that it creates. Now, all those things will come in the next few weeks, but they don't exist right now, so you'll have to work without them. That said, most of Component Studio 2 should be working, with the exception of bugs that you find. So I would love it if you'd go out and create your own project, actually get something done, see what you can do with it, kick the tires a little bit. It's the only way we're going to find out where the bugs are and what features are missing. So you doing this now will ensure that Component Studio 2 comes out of alpha and into beta and eventually full release faster. If you don't do this, it's going to take longer for that to happen. I need your help. I'm only one guy. So with that, let's show you what Component Studio 2 can do. When you first get to the link, you will see this screen. To get started, you just create a game and call it whatever you want. Then, once you're in here, you could mess around with all this stuff, but all you have to do really is create a new design, and I'll just name it that and hit Create Design. Then, if you made a mistake, you can hit this blue button and edit things, but you probably want to hit the green button, and that will bring you into the new Component Studio Designer. And so by default, you're going to be in here with a blank slate. So the first thing I guess to look at is that there are layer groups in Component Studio. By default, layers and layer groups go from a top or a bottom up kind of direction. You can select that in the preferences over here. So again, you just click that and you can say top down or bottom up. Bottom up would be more like Photoshop and Illustrator. Top down would be more like Component Studio 1. So for you to choose. Layer groups are basically a way to group layers together. So for example, on this first group, maybe let's call this the setup group. So I'll just call it like that. And I'm going to put my background color in there. So I'll go ahead and hit box. And so I just click that and then I got box, and we'll call that background. And let's set a color on it. So let's go to fill, and I'll click these dots. That brings up the editor. And I'm going to choose this light blue color here. Looks nice. So that's my background color. I think I'm going to create a new layer group then. And let's call this one title, let's say. And that's good. Let's add what the hell? Let's add a background color to that as well. Let's go with fill, and I'm just going to type in black. So you can see that you can do quick editing here, right out here, or you can click this to get into more detail. And there's always some sort of helper over there for whatever field type it happens to be. I don't want this to be this size though, so we're going to resize this. I think I would like this to be, let's say, 100 pixels tall. So I'm just going to do that. And another thing you can do in Component.Studio 2 that you couldn't do before is drag and drop. So let's go to position here and move. And I can just drag this right down here. So I think I'm going to do something like that. I'm going to put it maybe right about there. And you can, of course, adjust these after the fact. You can adjust the variable or the values, that sort of thing. But at least now you can do a little bit of drag and drop. Okay, so I've done that. Let's go ahead now and let's see. Let's call that title BKG. And let's add some text in here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit text. We're going to call this our title. Oh, I have a layer group named title, so I can't do that. So let's call this title group up here. Good. And then we'll rename this one title. There we go. Note that all of your names have to be unique, and that's because you can reference them with each other, which I'll show you in a little bit. So we have a title in here. Let's set some text. You know what? We need to get some text out of our data set. So let's go edit our data set. You can do that right up here with this little abacus looking icon. And we have a data set here, and let's do some birds, like let's say a blue jay. Suppose I should spell it correctly. We'll add a row, we'll do a crow, and something like that. And then let's add a canary also. Okay, so we've got some data, and you can see these right over here. Here are the rows that we created, so I could flip through them, but there's nothing to see yet because we haven't actually done anything. So let's go ahead and go into our text area here. Well, one thing that's problematic about this particular text area is actually that it is black text on a black background. So let's change this to be a heading, and that's H1. I'm going to select here. So that's the default style going to be applied here. And then let's go up to our text settings here and change H1. We're going to change that to be, I don't know, let's say it's got to be gold or something along those lines. So we'll come in here, we'll change our font color. I'm just going to type gold right there. So there we go. We've got our font color to be gold. And see, it's showing an example here, but it's also showing it right over there. So it's rendering it all in real time. Any changes that we make, font sizes or anything else, would be there. Now I could go back in here and choose a font, but I only have these fonts available because these are the default fonts. So what if I wanted to go in and get myself a cool new font? Let's do that, and then we'll come back here and continue editing. So I'm going to hit this button right here, which takes me back out of the game editor. Fonts have to be loaded outside the game editor because there's thousands of them, actually. There's almost 4,000 fonts that come with Component.Studio 2, and you can upload your own on top of that. So that would just be crazy amount of memory that it would be using in your browser, and it might crash lower end browsers. So I made that outside of the game editor. So we come out here and we click add font or add fonts, and I can kind of just then scroll through and find fonts. I can go by letter like this. I can search by keywords. I can use tags. There's a whole tagging system that's built into. Now, tags are going to be something where you can really help out because you can click this little button right here and add a tag to a font, and basically it's then set up so that other people can see that tag and search based on that tag. So, for example, if I went over here and said, let's say sci-fi. Oh, I don't have any sci-fi. How about some? Let's see, what is in here? Wide. I think wide was one of them. Yeah, here we go. So then it would show, well, I have wide and F selected, so let's just do wide. So it would show fonts that are really wide. Look at that. And these are just some tags that I put in here. Obviously, you guys will put in a lot more. But let's go ahead and take this font right here and add it to our palette. So I'm going to click that, and now you can see Black Hand Sans is over here. Now we're going to go back into our game and edit that. And we're going to go into the style editor again. And I'm going to say H1s should be using this new font that we just put in here because it's cool, right? And so there we go. We've got our new font in here, and you can see that this is using up some some space. It's a little too big. We can do all kinds of cool stuff with that, so let's, for example, we could do fit to size. We can say that it has to fit. Oh, there's something wrong. There's a bug right there. I'll have to figure that out. So as I did say, this is alpha software, so you're going to have some problems. We won't use fit to size right now, but you could set up a box and make it fit to size. We won't have to worry about this for this example, though, because we can just go in here, and we're going to use a variable to fill this in. So I'm going to go to row. I'm going to pick name. I'm going to pass this in here, and now we've got our name there. And I can see already that I'm going to need to move this a little bit to make it so that it's even right there. Good. Yep. And yeah, I think, yeah. All right. Perfect. So anyway, we've got our title up here. So this is our title group. We've got a couple, our background color and here. So let's show you some fanciness with something you can do with groups here. So one, I could actually move this whole group automatically. So I can set the group position, and that would move all of the elements that are in the group. But I'm going to actually do something else. I'm going to go to advanced here, and I'm going to get the bottom of this group. And I do that by clicking on that button right there. It'll create a little variable into my clipboard. And I close this up, and I'll create a new layer group, and we'll call this the let's say the body group. All right, so we got that, and let's add ourselves some text to the body group, and we're going to actually set the group position, the top of it, to be that variable that we created. So this is going to be at the bottom of the previous group. Now, with our text that we just put in here, it comes by default with a little bit of spacing built in. If we go into position here, you can see that the top is normally the safe top, which is this variable comes from, again, in here. If we go to design, you've got the safe top. And the safe top is the distance between right here at the very top and this dashed blue line. So if you fill that variable in, it's going to be 75 pixels, as you can see right there. Now, in my case, though, we don't want that extra 75 pixels here, so we're going to set that top to be 0. And so now, if I were to move, let's say I move my title group. I told you before we can move that position. So let's say I move my title group down by 100 pixels, something like that. See that the body group automatically moved with it when that moved down. That whole group did. So if I code this back up to 0 here, and it follows right back up. So that's something cool that you can do. You can use groups to move entire groups of layers like that. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to put the description here like that. And we need to go back into our data set here. And let's add a column called description. It'll be a text column. You can add all kinds of different kinds of columns, but I'm going to add a text column. And let's say it is blue and it's a corvid, like that. And this is small in yellow. And this one is, let's say it is black and it is a corvid. So there we go. And we've added some description elements there. And so then we'll come into here, we'll close that, go to text, and we will choose another variable from our row. This time we will choose description, and we'll go ahead and paste that in here. And now we've got a blue jay is a blue corvid. And then if I switch to my next one, canary is small and yellow. And we go here and we've got a black corvid is what a crow is. So you can see how you can quickly develop your designs in here. Again, not everything is going to be perfect. There's going to be bugs. There's going to be missing features, that sort of thing. What I need from you, though, is your feedback. I need you to tell me what's broken. I need you to tell me what is missing. And I want you to play with this and build real things so that we can see what's going on. Because if you just come in here and tinker, you're not going to find the bugs that we need to find. So you're not gonna realize, oh, this feature is missing that I really need in order to make my thing. And so making real projects in here is good. And if you did that, you can actually come right up here and hit download, and you can download all of your images. Now, this isn't a full export. Like I said, it's not going to upload it to the Game Crafter or create a tabletop simulator export at this point. Those will come, and they will be right here when they show up. But for right now, you're just going to download either the current image that you're looking at or all of the images in this design. That's all you've got. So go down into the comments and leave your feedback for this alpha. You can find the link to the alpha in the description of this video. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching.